Hi there. Today we'll be looking at choosing a research method. Within this methods topic, you'll be studying many different research methods. Before you consider any of these in detail, you will need to be aware of all the factors that might influence the researcher's choice of research methods. This includes having an understanding of different types of data, practical issues, ethical issues, theoretical issues, and the issues regarding the choice of the research topic itself. By the end of this topic, you should know what the main types of data are and what research methods sociologists use. Understand the practical, ethical, theoretical factors influencing choice of method and topic, and be able to assess their relative importance. Understand the difference between positivist and interpretivist approaches to research. Types of data. One of the first things that researchers will take into account when conducting research is the type of data they want to obtain from their studies. Quantitative data. This is numerical information which is usually obtained in large quantities, i.e. on a macro scale. This is standardized data and is objective and reliable. It's easy to quantify. Qualitative data. This is textual information which is usually obtained in smaller quantities, i.e. on a micro scale. This is detailed, in-depth data that's subjective and valid. It's difficult to quantify and relies on interpretations. Researchers also need to take into account whether or not they wish to use or need to use primary or secondary sources. Primary sources are information collected by sociologists themselves during their research, i.e. it's new data. This allows researchers to gather specific information that they need for their particular research. This can be costly and time-consuming. Secondary sources is information that has been collected already by other researchers, which the sociologist can then draw on for their research, i.e. it is data that already exists. This can be used to support primary sources or inspire new ideas for other research. It's usually quick, easy, and cheap to obtain. It can, however, be outdated quickly. It's difficult to find data to suit the sociologist's current research. Here then, the researcher is faced different combinations of data she could choose. Primary quantitative data, secondary quantitative data, primary qualitative data, and secondary qualitative data. See the table on the next slide. Okay, so moving away from choosing types of data, there are other vital factors that researchers must consider too before embarking on any research. Practical issues, ethical issues, and theoretical issues, which are PET. Can you think of what any of these might refer to or include? With practical issues, there's time and money. Different methods use up various amounts of resources. The researcher might need to employ people to carry out surveys and input data, which is expensive. Participant observations are cheap, but they do take up lots of time. Funding bodies. Governments, businesses, universities, etc. may require different types of data, and therefore the researcher has limited choices. For example, governments like to collect statistical data to inform social policy. Personal skills and characteristics. Each researcher is different and therefore may be limited in their choice of methods. For example, if they need to blend into a group, or if they have good observational skills, or patience, or memory, etc. Subject matter. If the topic requires opinions, feelings, thoughts, or just plain facts and figures, this will impact on the choice of method. Also, whether or not the subject is sensitive or difficult to study needs considering. Finally, research opportunity. In some cases, research opportunities may occur unexpectedly and therefore affects the researcher's time and planning. So now we have ethical issues. Well, what are ethics? Well, we need consent. Participants should be able to refuse being researched. The researcher should be open and honest about the research so the informed consent can be given by the participant. They should be able to opt out of the research if they so wish. Confidentiality and privacy. All participants' identities should be kept confidential to prevent any negative effects. Participants have the right to refuse information. Danger and harm. No psychological or physical harm should come to the participants. Also, participants should not be placed in any illegal or immoral situations. Vulnerable groups. Extra care and attention should be given to any groups/participants that are deemed as vulnerable in terms of age, gender, disability, ethnicity, physical or mental health. Covert research. This is where the researcher goes undercover and keeps their identity as a researcher hidden from the participants. This obviously creates many ethical problems such as deceit, lying, lack of consent, etc. Finally, we have theoretical issues. These reflect how the researcher sees society as working. For example, can behaviour be predicted? Are individuals more important than the overall structure of society? So we have reliability and validity. Reliability is a reliable method is one that, when repeated by another researcher, the same results will be obtained. For example, experiments. Truthfulness and validity. A valid method is one that produces a full, true picture of what is being studied. It's not repeatable, as different results could occur every time the method is implemented. So this can apply to qualitative methods like participant observations, as mentioned before. Representativeness. Whether or not the participants are in a good cross-section of group the researcher is interested in. If the participant sample is a good cross-section, then the information obtained from them can be generalized to the bigger group. Generally speaking, the bigger the sample, the more representative it becomes. Methodological perspective. There are two main groups of sociologists who have conflicting views on how society works. These are known as positivists and interpretivists. See a separate PowerPoint. So now we have the choice of topic. Theoretical perspective. A sociologist's choice of topic depends largely on what theoretical perspective they are affiliated with or interested in. For example, feminists might study the domestic division of labour or wage differences between males and females. Society's values. The social, political and economic climate of society might influence which topic gets studied. For example, global warming is recently a hot topic of research. Funding bodies. As research is often expensive, it needs funding. This funding comes from universities, charities, government bodies and businesses, etc. As such, these organisations often get to dictate which topics should studied and which aren't worth studying, and therefore not worth their funding. Practical factors, time, geography, transport, accessibility may all impact on the choice of topic. So thanks for watching, and hope this video was helpful, and see you later. Thank you.